Well, hey YouTube, it's Petey. You caught me in the kitchen with the 12. This is the base amp, we call it the 12. It's got two fuses. There is an output which is shielded. There's no ground connection on this. The chassis is grounded, so I had to isolate this output. And that isn't necessarily because I did something incorrectly. That's because all Class D amplifiers, the output ground is not the chassis ground. They're separate things. And if you ground them, it will not function. So it's got an input. Here's the output. And I just cut a piece of plastic here and enlarged this hole here so it's not making any physical contact. The amplifier does not have any input for power because it has internal batteries. So there is a 12 volt pack and there's a 24 volt pack. So there's two voltages and there's two fuses. The 24 volt pack feeds the power amplifier, which is a TPA 3116D2 mono Class D amp board. And then this fuse here is for the 12 volt pack. The 12 volt pack powers the LED, the buffer, and the preamp. The preamp is a Sinner PCB from Guitar PCB Madness, and I do not recommend you purchase anything from them. I had to build this twice. The information, I downloaded the latest PDF for this, and it didn't work. So I eventually, after troubleshooting it for many hours, I went on their online forum, and I found someone that said there's points 2 and 3. There's a 1 here and there's a 2 and a 3. It said, make sure you put a jumper between 2 and 3 or it won't pass any signal. So then I went back and I looked, and there's 3 PDFs. Mind you, the version is listed, it says V1, and I had the correct version. And there's nothing in the PDF that says you need to jumper this. So I made a video pleading my case and sent that to them, and they never watched it. Now I had to buy this twice. It was over $20 just for one PCB shipped. Over $20. Then I had to do the Tata order, which was $25. So this is it's like $100. And I'm going to be making additional videos about this company because when I went into their they have a forum where the fans are supposed to troubleshoot their products. It's full of errors. There's all kinds of problems with them. Oh, we forgot to do that. We didn't even mention that this has changed now, and we made a mistake on the PCB, and you have to jumper that and cut in this other thing, and so we'll give you your money back. Well, I saw one guy get his money back. They didn't even. Basically, I sent them, I asked them a question, and they told me, well, it says, if you have any questions, go on our Facebook fan page. And so I addressed my question. I made 2 images, which very clearly laid out what my question was. And in case what I had marked up was wrong, I gave them a blank image with the background image and said, go ahead and mark it and show me how I should wire this up if I'm wrong. And what I got back was like broken English, and they didn't send me back the second PDF, the second image. It was a JPEG. So I assume, well, I must be correct. So there's obviously a language barrier, but I'm going to say, if from what I've observed, this company guitar PCB madness. No, avoid these motherfuckers. And it's expensive. It's expensive. So they sent me, I bought another one, and we populated that, and we went to test it, and it didn't work. And then I jumpered 2 and 3, and it worked. And supposedly, according to the PDF, this version here does not require the jumper. So it's still incorrect. And like, there was a guy who bought one, and he said, I'm not really an effects builder. Is there anything I need to know? And I said, boy, it's a good thing I caught your message. There is something you need to know, and you need to jumper this pins 2 and 3. So that's my first video. I'm going to be making a few videos about this company. I don't want to come out and make a video and just trash them. I'm going to give them another chance to refund my money. And if they do, then I'll remove this. You know what? I got to think about what I'm going to do. But we're here to talk about this amp. This was another one of those things that's just hanging over me because I had to reorder everything, and it took a real long time, and I was sick when I rebuilt it. I'm still not well. So today we rebuilt it and tested it, and it worked. So I'm going to continue with the tour. Here's the battery packs, and I've got extra fuses taped in here. So here's a triple, and that comes out to like 12 and a half, and then there's 4, 4, and 4. So the way these 4 and 4s are wired is actually 6 and 6. So that's 24 and 24, doubled up for capacity. So we have the 24 volts has the red heat shrink, and the 12 has the yellow. And these little boards here came off of a old tube amp. It was like a record player or a radio that I got at a resale, a tube project. And I remember keeping that wood, and much to the chagrin of my partner, you're keeping that crap. And I'm so glad I did, because it just looks so cool on here. And then the rest of this stuff, like this plate here, came off of a PV Basic 50 amp that was completely blown. Someone had gotten in there and monkeyed with it, and I had repaired it, and it worked for a little while, and then it blew up again, and I was like, we got to get that thing out of here, it's huge. So I ended up taking this top chassis and cutting it down, because it was even wider. I cut it down to make it not so wide. And then I ordered rare earth neodymium magnets and inserted these. This here is not as long as this, so I cut this rail here to make them level. And then I used Forstner bits and cut 3 holes here and then 4 in the back. And then we put the magnets together in pairs of 2 and marked around the center. So we had pairs. So then we would glue in with automotive epoxy or JB Weld. You would glue in the pairs, and we didn't screw that up, so it when you go to change the batteries, you don't need a screwdriver. You just pop it in there like that. And these 2 are rubber feet, which are there because I have another preamp. If you want to add additional effects to this, we have this little Korg Pandora that has bass patches on it. So you can run that Pandora, you can run this little small guy, or you can run the analog, God, I hate using that word, but it's a preamp my wife and I built that has 7 circuits in it. It has a buffer, it has baseballs that I did not build. Someone gifted me that, and then claimed they did not build it. They told me Mark Hammer built it. So who knows who built that EA baseballs, but it's got a Demeter compulator. It's got a dark glass BK7, or is it the BK3? It's a dark glass distortion that has a blend. And then there is a 2-band EQ and a preamp stage. It's a Baxendal, so it's bass and treble. So if you want to have the auto wah or a different or more distortion. I mean, this has built-in distortion. Really, the only thing you need for this is this. This is really, it's designed to be a standalone bass amp. And we see the two fuses. Here's the input jack, here's the output jack. I use shielded cable coming in, and this is a clon buffer. It uses a se02. You say, oh, Petey's such a goof. He's using digital op amp chip. He should use a JFET because it's tube-like. Well, I'll tell you what. If you measure the voltage that comes out of a guitar pickup and then you measure the voltage that comes out of a bass pickup, voltage that comes out of the bass pickup is over the threshold of what a JFET buffer maximum. So you would be clipping it. So if you're out there and you think you're slick and you're building JFET buffers for bass guitar effects, you got some unwanted clipping going on. And that's another reason why I'm running the preamp and the buffer on 12.5 volts as opposed to 9, because it gives more headroom. So that was the thinking cap part, as well as this. I didn't have my thinking cap when I mounted this directly here and grounded it. But here's the amp board. These come with these clips where you can just screw the connections in, strip the wire and stick it in there and tighten it. I go ahead and just solder directly to the board, and it has a board-mounted potentiometer, a trimmer pot, which is a 103. It's a 10K. We remove that, and then we'll extend wires up to a 10K potentiometer. And you'll notice these are 26 millimeter pots. They're not 15 or 17 little pea shooter pots. These are the good ones. So there's a power LED. The power packs connect here, and they're labeled. There's the red and the yellow. So the red is the 24 volt and the yellow is the 12. And it comes up to this DP/DT power switch. We throw the 9 volts right over with a current limiting resistor to this 5 millimeter blue LED. And that throws the power over to the buffer. And that power clones it, splits off, and then runs into the center PCB. And this little board here has fasteners. There's 4 fasteners, and there's some wire guides. This one didn't make it through the guide. But yeah, this was all cut so I could just kind of slide this board in here, and the wood would provide an insulate. Like here, I just used some thin cardboard and made a box and then filled it up with hot glue, and then it's just insulated, and it's Bob's your uncle. So we're using shielded cables to go, and the audio path is all shielded with the exception of the potentiometer wiring. I tried to find out the to avoid using these switching to make it a little cheaper. On my first one, I just used these jumpers rather than the switches, and we didn't pass audio, so I was like, you know what, that's kind of, you know, what if that information that you got when you asked that first question is incorrect? I looked at the schematic, and it looked like that would be the way that you would wire it, because these switches, one of them is for a ground lift on the XLR output. There's 2 outputs on this. You can have a 1/4 inch output and then an XLR. For studio stuff, and this is an amp. It's the XLR input is pointless, so I wanted to bypass that. And then they have this, like, all this wiring allowances on the output for an LED and a control for the LED, and all of that's unnecessary. You wire into the input, out to the output, and then ground it. But if you are going to be playing around with one of these centers and you're not getting audio, you need to put a jumper in between that pin 2 and 3. That's what we did to get it to work. So yeah, it's right in there. That's my jumper. So yeah, you you put this like here, and it's on. Connect these. This is real heavy duty. The yellow is not as heavy duty as the red. The red is really a heavy duty wire, but those were cut off a Belkin UPS or battery backup boxes. So yeah, you plug these in like that, and then you can see the rare earth magnets line up pretty good. Pops down like that, and it's it's not that strong, but it's strong enough to keep it, and keep it from getting too far away from you. So yeah, this is the we call it the 12 because I built 2 amps in succession for the bass rig. We have an outdoor battery powered rig that we use, which the bass is a GK Neo 210 cabinet, which is pretty big. It's 210s and it's nice and loud. It's a great sub cabinet. You can play the bass through it. And that PA, we have these Behringer 10-inch PA speakers, so it's 2 mains and then this sub and a all-in-one powered mixer that we built. So that's a little bit much to load all that up into the car, and it's loud. It's loud. We could play a bar, no problem. If we're sitting out on the patio, we're going to a park. I wanted to make a smaller rig, so the micro rig was born. And for the micro rig, it's all finished, and it's excellent. We played at a band shell. This park has a full band shell. We brought our stuff over there, and the only thing that was a little lacking was the bass. We were using some real smaller stuff with a 6.5-inch driver. So I built, we had a 10 here and we had a 12 bass speaker, an EV Force 12. And I had this compactish 12 speaker box. It was actually like a kicker box, like a slotted port. And that 12 is the idea behind this. So I bought a fancy crossover and a fancy tweeter, and I had that on a switch with the crossover, and when we switched the switch, it blew the amp board. So, and I had turned it on, and the first thing I did was hit the switch. So then we put another amp board in it, and I'm playing it, and it's all good, and then I hit the switch again, and it smoked out again. So I smoked out 2 amp boards. So this project, we had another amp board that came in that was bad, that just as soon as we put power to it, it blew up. And then I put this amp board in here and it was fine. So this project has been hanging over my head for a long time, and it's finished now, and I'm really glad to have that finished. And I don't feel the need to continue with this. I feel like I've got what I need to do. Anything I build from here out, we really don't have room here, and I've got what I need. So I might be more concentrating on writing music and stuff like that. But anyway, this is the 12. It's a portable battery-powered bass amp. It has a 100-watt Class D amp board, which really is more like 50 or less. This isn't a dick measuring contest for me about numbers and wattage and power. The idea behind the micro rig was to reduce the stuff. But doing that with bass is really hard to do. You need some significant power, and you need a healthy speaker. So with all that in mind, we've got the 10 and we've got the 12. We've got options. The 10 it's a 10. It's a smaller box. It's all in one. The 12 is 2 pieces. It's the head and the cabinet. And the 12 is significantly, I don't know. I never, every time we've run the 10, Gomti has operated it at the minimal volume to run in an apartment. I have never sat by there and got at the EQ and volume knob and turned it up. So I'd imagine the 10 does a pretty good job too. I imagine it's a little tighter. I mean, it's a 10, So we've got these portable bass amps, and this is the pretty much hitting the wall. So thank you for joining me If you go back, there's a portable bass amp video that I made many years ago that was a joke. And I got a lot of views on that. My first video got a lot of views. Now I'm here many years later and I've made something that's significantly better and nobody's going to watch it. But that's the way it goes, and it doesn't matter. We've got the gear. It's not so much about the gear as it is about the music. Don't let the internet fool you. In the internet, they stress having vintage gear and expensive stuff, and that is supposed to be what defines you as a guitar player. I think that's the job of your music. So that's what I'm going to be focusing on. Thank you guys for joining me on this one. We're going to do a demo of this, and then we're gonna play a little music, and then we're going to watch the Ronnie James Dio documentary tonight. So it's going to be a good night. You guys take care of yourselves. Try to stay warm. Hug your pets, and peace.